Hello my guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. So it is the first week of October? God, I don't even know at this point. And during the first week of every month, I make a new OC video where I redesign one of my OCs. If you look in my channel playlist, you'll see a playlist with all the other OC videos. So if you want to watch some of those, go ahead. I do recommend before watching this video though that you watch the first one to explain the whole story and the universe and everything, and the last one, which is Alex's video, because those are both important to understanding this video. Also, so far, 100% of my viewers are subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Don't be that one person who isn't subscribed. And on with the video. So, this character is Jacob, but he is Alex's brother. So, if you remember last video, or if you just watched it, he is her younger brother by like a year-ish, not even that. They're Irish twins. So, yeah, that's who he is. I totally didn't hint at it at all last month. But in his original story, him and Alex were actually twins. I was debating whether or not to keep that, but another spoiler for future characters, there's another set of twins. Part of me wanted to keep them twins just because, you know, they've always been twins, but also I didn't want them to be twins, so they're not twins anymore, but fairly close in age, same mother, look pretty similar. So his original story is fairly similar to how it goes now. He became very depressed after his older brother got into a car crash. Eventually, he goes to Main High because he has really powerful magic that he doesn't know about. Then at Main High, he meets people who teach him that life's worth it and to be happy and blah blah blah. And that was pretty much his whole story. I didn't really have much for him. Like, when talking about Alex's first story, it was like, what, that took me 5 minutes or something? Just talking about the original story. That took me a minute, man. He had nothing really. He was just sad and depressed, and then at some point he stops being depressed. But I did really like his design originally. Like, I loved to draw him, and I loved his character even though it had, like, not a lot of substance. So I was really excited for this one. Now I pulled up a few of the old drawings I had of him, and the main things I want to fix were his hair. I want to give him a consistent hairstyle. His outfits, there's nothing technically wrong with it. It's just a little bland. The color palette of all of it needs a bit of work because it's all over the place. And then I also want to show more of his personality in his actual design because there's a lot of room to do that. So I did some sketching off camera because I'm in school now. I don't have infinite time to be on my tablet sketching. So we did some on paper and you can see those here. I wanted him to have the same color palette as Alex. I could have done yellow. Part of me wanted to, but also, you know, I know biologically his skin color and hair color are gonna be similar to Alex's, unless I want to give him like bleached hair, and God no, I do not. Jacob with bleached hair would be cursed. So I stuck with mainly the same colors as Alex. I played around with adding in some yellow, but I like my characters to be just mainly all one color, so I kept it to the oranges. Now, if you look at the sketches, you can see I drew 2 different haircuts because there was like a few things I knew about Jacob's overall character development and all that, and I knew at some point he would cut his hair and that was going to be like an essential part of character development to show that he was growing as a person and I don't know, something like that. And I used to only draw him with his haircut because I didn't like his old hair. But I also kind of played around with what his big haircut would eventually be. And decided at some point he's just gonna shave off, like, he's just gonna get a buzz cut. So don't get too attached to his hair, guys. Then to show that he's fairly, like, reserved, sad, depressed, all that stuff, I made his hair covering his face. Pretty cliche, but it's a great way to display his personality. And after I finished drawing him, first of all, I was like, oh my god, he's so cute, I love him. Then I realized, I think I just drew, like, every trans guy ever. Like, he's wearing 3 layers of shirts and a beanie, and he's just a trans guy? That is just his fashion? I guess most trans boys are sad, depressed boys too, so it's fine. Also, I made this near the very beginning of school, back when things were still warm, and now it's cold, and now I've realized that me and Jacob's fashion sense has become the exact same. Back when I drew this, I didn't know anything about how I was going to be dressing in, like, fall and winter, but now I just dress exactly like this. This is what I mean by he is just a trans fashion icon. Too late to change it. It's fine. I still think his design fits him very well, and I don't know, I like it. Okay, so let's stop talking about his design and move on to his personality. So I've talked about it a bit, but I want to flesh out his personality a bit more. Not too much, since he's kind of cut himself off from the rest of life to some degree, so a lot of his personality only kind of develops as the story goes on. But pretty much Jacob's pretty reserved person. He doesn't really have, like, any friends. He doesn't care about much of anything. Like, sometimes he'll go to school, but he doesn't do anything. He's just, like, there, but not really there, if you get what I'm saying. He's kind of done with life, but, like, instead of doing what some people do and just, how do I say this without YouTube hating me? You know, what a lot of people who are depressed do when they're done with life. But Jacob's kind of outlook is that, like, well, he doesn't care about life anymore, so he can just do whatever he wants. Like, if he dies, he dies. So he just does whatever. He doesn't worry about the future or having to set his life up so it becomes good, like Alex. He's really just focused on doing whatever he wants to do in the moment. If he wants to sleep, great, he's sleeping. If he wants to, I don't know, he doesn't do that much, to be fair. He mainly sleeps, and then he also likes to take pictures. He's really into photography. Like, he always carries around with him his laptop with Photoshop on it, and his camera in his backpack. He loves to, like, leave the house for hours on end, setting up good photo opportunities. None of his family knows what he's doing. Like, he'll just disappear for a few hours and then come back and then go to his room, which no one's allowed in either. So yeah, no one knows what he does with his life. He barely knows what he's doing with his life, but he doesn't care. He doesn't need those answers, in his opinion. He's also a magic person, and I thought about his powers for a bit. I kind of debated between a few different powers, but eventually I decided to base his powers around his interest in photography, so he can freeze time. I did want to set some parameters for his power, though. Pretty much how I imagine it works is when he freezes time, everything is frozen except for him, and then he can touch, like, one object or person and take that also out of the frozen time state. But that's the limit. He can only really manage to have himself and one other thing outside of the frozen time. And besides that, he can't move anything. All of it's frozen in its place. I mean, he can touch it, but his touch doesn't really affect it at all. Because otherwise, that breaks the heck out of, laws of physics and stuff. And moving a person while time is frozen and then unfreezing time, that will just break all their bones, I think. So I'm just leaving it to one object so I don't break the laws of physics too much with his power. So his story is also fairly similar to how it was originally. So before his brother got into a crash, he was almost like how Alex is, so they kind of personality swapped after the crash, but he was like the responsible one. He was focused on, getting a good future. He didn't want to go to college, but he was thinking about like just going directly into the workforce, maybe even like military or something. And he tried to help take care of the family. And then the crash happened, and obviously he was experiencing grief, but I think, it also just kind of sent him into an existential crisis. Like, life is short. Why are we just slaving away for a capitalist system and dedicating our lives to getting money so we can, just like that kind of stuff. And so he's like, screw it, I'm gonna live life however I want. And that kind of just ended up with him being lonely and sad. At least he's not dedicating his life to a good future, right? So then obviously he goes to Main High, and that's what inspires Alex to like really start researching the whole Main High phenomenon. I also think Alex knows like kind of about his power. Like when they're young, I think Jacob would like mention it, or like weird things would happen and Alex would ask, what the heck that was, and Jacob would be like, oh yeah, I just froze time. Like it was normal. But I don't think Alex took him seriously back then, and she's only starting to realize like, oh my god, he actually can like freeze time as she starts to do her research. So yeah, still not too much going on with him. Similar to his old story, a lot of his personality and a lot of his character develops as the story goes on. I do want to potentially do something with Main High one day, so I don't want to be too spoilery. But yeah, that's pretty much everything about him before he actually goes to Main High. So then, like in every OC redesign video, I am going to do a final drawing to kind of test out his design. This one was really difficult to come up with an idea for because he doesn't have much personality. His powers are really hard to show in a single image. And I guess I could find a way to show his interests, but I don't know, I wasn't feeling too inspired by any of that, I guess. So I just drew him on a bus to Main High. I struggled a bit with his facial expression. It just happens sometimes. The first time I drew it didn't look good, so I had to start over. I'm still not too happy about how it looks, but oh well. But drawing him wasn't the scary part of this drawing. If you're not new to this channel, then you know. Backgrounds and me we don't go together great. I'm not the best at drawing backgrounds, and I always kind of dread it. I'm trying to push myself, and especially with OC videos and with the month drawings I do, those are really where I practice doing backgrounds. But for this, I had to draw a full-blown bus interior. I can't even say the words, but a bus. I had to draw all those seats, and then there's like poles, and then there's more seats and windows, and I didn't want to do it, but I signed myself up for this, I guess, so God, I went for it. I think this is one of the hardest backgrounds I've drawn ever. Like, I don't draw backgrounds that much, so mainly my YouTube channel, that is the extent of backgrounds that I've done. So compare this to like every other background, and this is definitely the most I've ever done. So yeah, there are a lot of problems. I didn't want to like take too much time on it, so I didn't actually do proper perspective, and I didn't make everything too refined. Like the little parts that grew the poles onto the bus. Those are very wonky, but I didn't care. I originally was just going to do the one row of chairs where Jacob was sitting and just be like, oh, the rest of the chairs are off screen. But then I'm like, that could not work. There is no angle you could position this where you don't see that other row of chairs. So I had to draw those. I did totally forget that there were 2 chairs side by side, and so across the aisle there's only 1 chair. Oh well, that's how it is, I guess. Also, I was really lazy with the bottom of the chairs. I just made them like boxes. I know most buses don't have it like that, but I didn't care, honestly. I was so done. So in terms of the actual focus of this drawing, Jacob inked his face completely one time and it looked really bad, so I cut that out and started over. You can't see it because I think I undid it. Still don't know the past tense form of undo, but that happened. His face was such a struggle. It made this whole thing so much more frustrating. And then his backpack is also kind of wonky looking. I don't know. I had a lot of trouble drawing backpacks throughout this. Like, backpacks seem like they're easy to draw, but then it's like, I don't know, there's so much symmetry you have to worry about, and proper curvature and blah blah blah. All that fun stuff. So then when it came to coloring, I made him with all the oranges and all that he has. And then I thought about making the bus yellow and black, but then I decided to have it blue and with a bit of the orangey black he has. Because, blue contrasts against orange, opposite colors, so I thought that'd be the best color for it. Plus, a lot of buses have blue interiors. Then for the shading, I was so burnt out. When I drew this picture, it was like the second week of school, so I was still figuring out how to balance YouTube and school. So this point is where I start like drawing all my drawings at like 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night when I have to wake up at like 5:30 a.m. So for this drawing, I was so burnt out every time I was working on it because it's not really that late, but for me it was quite late because I have to wake up early. Not to mention that I have this whole entire background that I had to shade with so many different parts. So yeah, the shading's kind of garbage. Then I just threw in some like glow from the windows and did more shine to show like the glow against him. He was still kind of blending in a bit to the background, so I added a white outline, and I also did to the backpack, but I made a bit thinner since that's not as much the focus, and that was pretty much it. For the amount of work I put into this drawing, it's kind of sad how it looks. It's not bad, it has its charms, it's just not really much of anything. But if you did like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, comment down below any questions you have about the characters or the story. These videos come out every month, so come back next month to make sure you get more updates on all the characters. Also, if you want to see more of me outside of YouTube, in the description I have all my other social media, so go follow those. And I will see you all next